Hi folks, I'm Katie Bliss. I'm Training Manager for Interpretation and Education for the National Park Service here at Mather Training Center.
Hi, I'm Becky Lacombe, Training Specialist for the Interpretive Development Program, also at Mather.
We're going to take a few minutes here to talk about the new foundations of interpretation, their purpose, and their evolution. So interpretive competencies have been around for over 20 years, but a few years ago they started to get an overhaul. And this video describes the impetus and process for that revision. What are competencies? Well, they're a combination of knowledge, skills, abilities, and behaviors that allow an employee to perform a task at a defined level of proficiency. So who cares about competencies? Well, you should, because they are critical for assessing and selecting candidates for a job. They inform the new job descriptions and the assessment questionnaires used to qualify candidates. They're used for assessing and managing employee performance. They actually inform the new employee performance appraisal plan templates, and they're critical for employee training and development. We use them to guide the development of learning tools and training curriculum. So you might be wondering, what are my competencies? Well, all employees have universal leadership and technical competencies. Universal competencies are, universal to all NPS employees, and they include interpersonal skills, oral communication, integrity and honesty, written communication, continual learning, and public service motivation. You were either hired with these skills, exposed to them in the fundamentals training for new employees, or hopefully your supervisor is helping you gain them as you grow professionally. There are 28 leadership competencies defined by OPM, the Office of Personnel Management. Also gained throughout your career, they help you be a leader within the organization and within the profession. We see these 7 leadership competencies as critical for the profession of interpretation: creativity and innovation, flexibility, leveraging diversity, developing others, customer service, partnering, and technical credibility. Universal and leadership competencies are defined by OPM and the agency. Career field technical competencies are defined, by your career field. And in this video, we will share that process.
Before we take a look at the 2018 revision of our technical competencies, it might be helpful to take a look back at how that process got started and a quick look at how we got here from there. The NPS started developing competencies for all of its employees in 1995 with the Training and Development Strategy. And they recognized at the time that that process was going to be time-consuming and that it would take updates and revisions all along the way. Also in 1995, our career field was engaged in an evolution of interpretive philosophy and training. The interpretive revolution, as it was called, involved many field interpreters in conversations about the purpose and principles of our work. This was the birth of the Interpretive Development Program, and the resulting benchmark competencies guided our work for 18 years. That's a long time. During that time, parks were becoming more and more popular and visitors were coming. We began realizing that our audiences and the way that they interact with our resources was definitely changing. In advance of our NPS Centennial, the National Park Second Century Commission began pushing us to expand our vision of the value of parks in society. In their 2009 report, they said, "National parks today serve purposes and provide benefits far broader than were originally envisioned for them, and that the National Park Service has great potential to advance society's most critical objectives of building national community and sustaining the health of the planet, and that these are the purposes of preservation." During that same time period, the museum community was examining the social and educational changes that were impacting audience experience for them. The Institute of Museum and Library Services conducted a study in 2009 to identify the 21st century skills, such as critical thinking, that are needed by audiences in a changing world. In response to these societal shifts and influences, the Park Service, working with our academic partners, conducted studies and published reports that redefined the purpose of interpretation and the skills needed by interpreters in the 21st century. We conducted the NPS Interpretation Education Training Needs Assessment in 2014. In that same year, the 21st Century NPS Interpretive Skills Vision paper was published. followed by the Achieving Relevance in Our Second Century Strategic Plan. Now, these were the primary drivers of the first radical revision of our interpretive competencies in 20 years. In the collaborative spirit that's always been at the heart of the interpretive development program, the 2016 and 2017 versions of our Foundations comps were written and edited through broad field input. For our 2018 revision, we used the Common Learning Portal to host even more and broader conversations and include more voices. Okay, so these are our new Foundations of Interpretation Competencies, version 2018. Site research and relevance, building audience and community, self-awareness and bias, designing visitor experience. And that one has 3 subcategories: collaboratively define goals, employ medium and technique, analyze and iterate. So, Katie, now what? What should folks do with the competencies now that they've been updated and revised?
These 4 competencies, including the 3 subcategories under Designing Visitor Experience, comprise the foundational technical competencies for interpretation. Together with the universal and leadership competencies, they make up the main skill sets necessary for interpreters to be successful in their work. And identifying interpretive success and describing the competencies to get there has always been a collaborative, peer-driven process, and this evolution is no different. But you don't need to come to Mather Training Center to contribute to the next evolution. On the Common Learning Portal, you'll find new collaborative spaces, colleagues to confer with, places to share new ideas that spark the next great way to describe our profession. So what's next? How do you engage? Well, check out the new EPAPs to see how to apply these standards to your work this year. Talk with your supervisor to talk through and identify key areas that you want to develop. And then choose a few ways to learn to enhance your comfort and application of these skills. And then be sure to connect with others, to share what you've learned, explore new applications on the peer feedback community or in the 21st Century Training and Skills group. And you'll find all of these resources and a whole lot more on the Common Learning Portal. We encourage you to engage, experiment, and share what you've learned. This is the only way we will continue to evolve our profession. It's the only way we ever have, through your application, dedication, and contribution to this work.